related to that. I think things like where they're brought in, the install, the start, that would all be an indication that to me the server's not performing, is struggling. But the problem for me is when I compare it to LVC, I see the same indication. And I'm wondering if just kind of beyond the present issue, like there needs to be kind of a more, it may not be a CPU with memory utilization, a normal resource utilization issue, but probably you can spend some time just looking at the solution as a whole and make sure that we're it's performing in the way we need it, because if it's definitely not in the water, it's very difficult to separate out what's normal versus what's abnormal. Because I've seen indicators that the servers are struggling all complaints from a network perspective.
One of the two things that once we get over this and the thing is I can see what you're trying to say is that the server is actually depending on the network, right?
Yeah, the server is saying I'm going to start transferring data slowly into the TCP slow start. It's saying even though I could technically send more data faster, I'm going to start slow. But I can also see that in LTV. And it's also doing the whole slot where it's saying $80 if you need too much data too fast, you actually slow down. And so that would be an indication of the problem to me that's on the server. But when I compare it to LVP, I see the same pattern for the LVP server, so I can't call it out as a root cause, but it definitely makes the situation worse, especially when we start, one of the things I'm seeing is retransmission. And if the server's already struggling, we're at retransmission, when we get into that death spiral, that just gets worse, because the more it can respond, the more retransmission, and it just kind of builds on itself. And so it definitely, I don't think it's the cause, but I definitely think that definitely makes the situation worse. And especially when I want to do that, that's what the way the situation is worse.
I saw that somewhere in front of everything. I think it's something that we can definitely look at for the immediate day.
The minute you can reproduce the problem, it definitely will help us to focus and laser focus on the components that are causing the problem. But meanwhile, we'll do what we can to look at the performance of the server. I may ask to have, so in the case of Microsoft, just have us look at the servers. Let's say we can get help from there.
Yeah, I know that's not older. I wouldn't even it's so much the CPU and memory, the normal resource utilization, but I would be like interface drivers, things like that, like buffers and things like that, it's a lower level component that's not performed by the CPU.
And even currently, I think that's part of the troubleshooting. We can trouble because we see, right, there are issues on the Windows process failure which is happening, VAST activation, error which is coming in. So it could be an issue on the server side. So we can directly on the web server, we can try to reproduce, run something like native stretch and further captures just to identify if there are some issues or maybe the server itself is resulting and able to process the request.
I think you guys are already active some resources coming out that you can see this in real time. That's what's going on.
We need some folks from our operations team to help you out.
Yeah, I think that is a usual.
Go back to there, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't want to say so.
Yeah,
You want getting all those but with today being Friday, do you have a report being used?
Yes, it varies though. Yesterday, so somebody that probably serves. We need at least four resources on this, because I believe, one of us is very based on the city.
So, 1131 to 34 in EPI, what are the counterparts in Louisville?
17 to 21.
Okay.
Yeah, 30 to 34, and EPI, sorry, Nancy, and other things, volunteers, without testing, they're not bringing up the entire farm. They're only bringing up the cost of it, so that's one end of it. So we are not bringing up the entire farm, so we're just trying to replicate it out of just 2 servers before we bring up the entire farm together. If you want the web server security, you want to get also do that. But I was getting really wanted that the fire situation, you need at least 2. If there's any kind of logging that's going on there.
Well, at this point in time, are we feeling confident, Robert, that F5 is not introducing this?
I feel pretty confident that F5 is not the root of the problem. Again, the configurations are functionally similar to what is without the key with the exception of the help stack. But I think the help stack was more, triggered the locking and the 504 being on correct, and because that was functioning as designed, that because the back, the web server, for whatever reason, was unhealthy or appeared unhealthy from the load balancer's perspective, it marked the good down, it triggered 504s from, it triggered the 504s on direct connect with the name because the bit wasn't available. That was all kind of expected and non-problematic in and of itself. Again, F5 has looked at it, they don't see any issues with the configuration itself and the health of the device during the window. So I feel pretty confident rolling it out. I'm not close off to that idea that we got back in, but I need a little bit more to go on the shakes with F5 if we go back that direction.
Robert, is any question? Don't take any offense at this. Is EPI and at least you understand F5 like what are the software?
But I still don't start that. Yeah, definitely won't take that's what I'm saying.
All valid questions here, right? Saying we should have a restricted set of tasks and run them individually against a single web server and compare the results. If we see an outlier on the web server, so, one form of investment would be, we assume, make an assumption that the F5 is good so that we can hit a single number on the back end and just against the baseline. Does it focus on a single server that says it's having a problem or repair servers? It could give us a focal point. It could just say, this problem doesn't discriminate, it's equally across all servers.
Do you want to start up with one server and then do the testing, or do you want to start with 2? Because if you start with 2, we can educate F5 first, and then we can solely focus on the single server. Because if you put single server, you're not exercising anything on the device, everything. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, I don't think.
Other than, basic or functionality, yeah, you would be confirming like the persistence of the load balancing methods.
Do we need it right now? And if your team feels that you need to go through that level of testing, we support that. We're just trying to throw out additional avenues to test and confirm this.
The reason why I I think I'd say that is a ripple effect. So the reason why I say it's a ripple effect is if the server slow down, and Robert technically on this one, the server slow down, it's slow to respond. Over a period of time, you can actually see this actually showing up as an issue on the persistent side of things. And you can drop sessions, like if the head checks go off, you can actually it's not a thing that we have not seen in the past, we have seen it in the past, but that was regulated by the current topic. That can actually be a situation where you have the TCP or 4X option kind of mechanic. Like, I think you have all the that option come out on that there was no 4X option like scenario on that. Right?
Yeah, we didn't see that. I mean, I think it's fair enough that if the resources are available to perform the testing, but I don't think it's necessary, but it might be just good to have that data point and just to say you did.
It checks off the box to be able to say, Wells Fargo, these are the things we've tested, and it helps provide a thorough, complete picture. By all means, let's do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I have it with Dr. Dr. Morgan second.
It's my billing check.
I
tried to call, and it wasn't sent away.
She did that process.
Is that a alright. Sridhar, do you have the person test accounts for that?
This is the what we are.
And then you get the order. And when you do this test, you should not be on it yet. So this way you can exercise both M5 as well as your next experiments. And second, yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I will also have the opportunity, and what I'm going to do is I'm having this is the partial script, which is just going to create multiple sections of that subject. So, this one and then those are the only two that you want to talk right now. Now, the problem with one of this SSO theory is that we won't be able to replicate that entire test scenario without doing a full cutover. And I say that because we don't have a mock version of that. We actually test out the entire channel signature validation and decryption model. The part of the system that happens after it is what gets tested with all the activities that we are doing so far. So it's just a heads up if anyone brings that up in the future. Are you able to see this number? I'll take a 5 minutes. The both numbers. Doctor, do you have your test account? Just make sure you guys are not using the same. Yeah. What we need you to do is just navigate to the page and try to maintain your session as best as possible. Like, don't let it time off.
Anyone can share this thing so that we can see what is happening?
Then you can see your screen. You can navigate over the pages. And you're off the screen, right? That's the number. What's your account number? Just to make sure.
Hang on. So right now the account is one PCA server, one Scala server, two websites. This is what it's about.
Connor is on here as well, right, Connor?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you have it in there now. Does that mean we're taking on to go this month or this will go?
Yeah, I think they're able to balance between the two servers, so they just need to log in now.
Okay. Connor, you just see what you get.
Right there. And you were able to see the error sets here, right? Say that again? You were able to see some of the errors that's sitting on the file, of course, but you were seeing the error page, so you couldn't say on the system. Yeah. Just navigate to the basic thing and knock yourself out. By communicating that error scenario. I sent you a query. This should help you actually see if this is getting knocked out because of the fact that the servers are just losing sections or essentially gets transferred. So if there are a bunch of queries in there, but it will help you actually figure that one out where I get this moving one over the other. Other thing with this is maybe trying to like what your IP address is on. Yes.